Hello everyone, my name is Katari Akansham, and today as a part of a lesson we are going to discuss the poem The Flea by John Donne. For first the introduction of the poet. So John Donne was born in 1572 in a prosperous merchant family. He was educated at Oxford in Lincoln's Inn as a law student, but he dropped out at the middle of the semester, and then he was he started the journey of religion, and he became a priest at age of 43, and then he became dean of St. Paul in 1621, and he was a part of the group called the Metaphysical Poets, and he was advanced in the exploration of a spirit of his time, and it is reflected in his poems. He was known for paradoxical images, inventive syntax, and extended metaphor in his poetry. The metaphysicals. Samuel Johnson coined this term metaphysical poetry to describe the eccentric style of the poetry of his time. Metaphysical poets, including George Herbert, Richard Crashaw, Andrew Marvell, and John Cleveland, are known for their use of paradoxical images, inventive syntax, and extended metaphor called conceit. They startled the readers of their time and offered new perspective by drawing from diverse fields such as art, philosophy, and religion in their poetry. John Dryden first used this term in his essay of dramatic poesy. Metaphysical poets aim to showcase their learning and use unconventional figures of speech. Their verse sometimes lacked perfect rhyme and modulation, making them distinct from traditional poetry. John Donne as a metaphysical poet. Now, the characteristic of the poetry of John Donne that makes him metaphysical poets are: first is complexity. Donne's poetry is intricate, bringing together diverse concepts. It is intellectual. It has the tone of intellectual. It delves into psychological nuisance. His poetry have this emotional intellectual fusion. It combines intellect and emotion, analyzing personal experiences. The poetry of John Donne have learned concepts. Donne's works are rich in intellectual and elaborated ideas. It is also argumentative. His poetry presents evolving arguments akin to legal reasonings. It has original vocabulary. Donne uses unique vocabulary from various fields. The poetry of John Donne have abrupt beginnings. His poems often start abruptly and use unusual rhymes. It is also dramatic in a dramatic form. Donne's poetry is a dramatic, featuring dialogues and a presentation of ideas. So that's how the characteristic of Donne's poetry make him metaphysical poet. And now the Flea, the poem's introduction. The Flea is an erotic metaphysical poem, first published in posthumously after the death of the poet John Donne in 1633. The exact date of this composition is unknown, but it is probable that Donne wrote this poem in 1590s. when he was young law student at Lincoln's Inn before he became a respected religious figure as the Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral. This poem, The Flea, have this central figure of the flea as is a love poem by John Donne that centers around an unlikely protagonist, a flea, an insect. It has a surprising choice. The John Donne selection of a teeny flea as the central symbol of his love poem is unexpected and unconventional, challenging traditional romantic themes. As it is a love poem, but it implies this flea as a central figure of the poem. Streamy testimony. The poem serves as a streamy and passionate testimony of love, using the flea as a metaphor to explore the intimacy between lovers in a unique and provocative way. Now the poem and its explanation. So we are dealing with this stanza 1 and its explanation. So the first stanza of the poem, The Flea, the speaker introduces a teeny flea that has bitten both him, the lover, or the narrator that is in the center of the poem, who is uh, narrating this poem, and his beloved. He argues that the mingling of their blood within the flea should not be considered sinful or shameful, as it symbolizes their intimate connection. So when the flea bite the both of them, the lover and the beloved, after one another, then he implies this idea that now that our blood is mingled in there, that teeny flea, we don't have to see that mingling of blood as shameful, but it connects both of them. The stanza sets the tone for the poem's exploration of love, using the flea as a metaphor to challenge social norms regarding physical intimacy. So basically, the poet here implies this physical intimacy, and the idea the in this flea as it bites the both of them, and it emphasizes the purity of their love and the naturalness of their physical union. Now this second stanza. In this second stanza of the poem The Flea, the speaker pleads with his beloved not to harm the flea, which now contains a mixture of their blood. He presents the idea that the flea serves as a sacred symbol of their union, a marriage bed and temple. Despite any objection from their parents or social norms, he argues that their union is sanctified within the flea. The stanza reflects the speaker's passionate and persuasive effort to convince his beloved not to kill the flea, as the doing so would be akin to commit three sins simultaneously, as now the flea is containing the three blood. First is the lover's blood, the poet's, and the second one is the beloved's blood, and it is mingled into the blood of the flea, the insect. Now it has this three blood, and by killing it, it will also kill the part of them, as it is mingled through the blood and connected three of them. So he pleads that not to kill or harm this flea. Now the third stanza, and it is the final stanza. In the final stanza of the flea, the speaker observes that his beloved has killed the flea by purpling her nail with its blood. He acknowledges the Flea's death but argues that it doesn't diminish the love or her honor. He likens the loss of honor uh, to the teeny amount of honor lost when she yielded to him. The speaker employs a perverse argument to persuade her that their physical union has no negative consequences. However, this argument challenges conventional idea about honor and morality, highlighting the poem's provocative and unconventional nature. Now that the beloved has killed this insect, the flea, then the poet argues that now that you have killed this flea, that means that the mingling of their blood, the connection between them, the physical connection can not be seen as something that can make her lose her honor, or it is some thing big issue. Now that he says that just like that you have killed this uh, flea and made clear, and uh, the problem is solved. In the same manner, if they get together, if they have this connection, then it will also have no harm in her honor, or it cannot make such a big difference, or it is not that morally wrong. Now that type of argument this poet make in this stanza, and conclude this poem. So the structure of the poem, now there is three stanza of 9 lines in this poem. The Flea, it is divided into three symmetrical stanzas, each compressing 9 lines. The structure provides clarity and balance to the poem's argument. Now that this three stanza reflects this three characters in it. The first is this lover, the poet, and then second is the beloved, and third is this insect, the flea. Also, each stanza have this three couplet, so that also make these three, and then there is three individual lines, so it makes this structure of 3 3 3. And then this rhyme scheme of the poem: in each stanza, Donne employs a conscient rhyme scheme, three rhyming couplets followed by a triplet. So the rhyming scheme of this poem is AABBCC, and then there is 3D of the lines rhyme, and this scheme enhance the poem's musicality and rhyme. And then there is this unity and complexity of the structure of the poem. The structure underscores the unity of the three elements while highlighting the complexity of the explored themes such as love, desire, reason, and persuasion, characteristic of Donne's metaphysical poetry. So this complexity of the poem reflects this characteristic of Donne's poetry. Now there is these elements in the poem. First is themes of the poem. So there is this first theme, love and desire. So this lover is basically explaining his desire for his beloved in this poem. And then there is persuasion and argumentation throughout the poem. You can find that the poet, the lover is arguing about this connection between him and the beloved, and he is persuading beloved for this connection, or physical intimacy. And then sexuality and morality. So we can also find this in the poem, the through the example, the metaphor or symbol of the flea is reflecting sexuality and also morality, because he is saying, comparing the flea as a temple, as a mingling of their blood and temple, and the uh, so basically, he is describing this flea as a holy or a moral thing, that what the blood is mingled in this insect is more. It is also representing the morality or the concept of marriage, as the two blood is connecting, and paradox and irony is also theme of the poem, as the poet is confusing the reader by introducing this the main figure in this poem, the flea, the insect, and then the as the beloved kill the flea. It is also representing the irony into the poem. Then there is sacred and profane love into this poem, as the poet is comparing the flea with a marriage bed and temple. Physical versus spiritual love. It is also representing this physical and spiritual love throughout the poem. Then there is this metaphors in this poem, that is love as a flea's bite, as love and intimacy and the morality and spirituality all together in that metaphor of flea's bite. And then there is this blood as a token of love that mingles into this insect, the flea, and makes both of them, the lover and the beloved, together. It makes the connection of their blood. And then there is symbols such as the flea that represent the love and connection of lover and beloved. And then there is blood and the mingling of blood of this three of the main figure in this poem. Then there is marriage bed and temple, that is also representing the spirituality and the love and all together in this poem. Conclusion. In this Flea poem, John Donne make us do a journey through a provocative exploration of love, desire, and persuasion. This poem challenges social norms by using the flea as a symbol of physical intimacy and unity. So this flea is very much unexpected when we see that this insect is representing the morality, also the religion. When Donne says that it is like a holy trinity, that this beloved lover and this flea are making this holy trinity. Also, it is a very much describing that it is making the relation of this lover and beloved moral one, as their blood is connected into this flea. The blood mingling so make it very very much symbolical into this poem, through this example, through this metaphor of this flea that John Donne is putting into this poem. But after the time of plague, such insects like flea, rats, those insects or those animals that are very minor and not that much have that influence into literature, they are read differently because of the plague and other things that are connected with those insects, and they are not that symbol of love that anyone can make into the literature, they are not considered, they are filthy or more like disgusting for such a representation. So after the plague and after pandemic, we can see we cannot find those symbol as something we can connect with love or intimacy or romance or any other thing that are that much diverse. And those insects have their position in literary readings with difference through time and periods. So, in the Dunn's time, he is using this flea as something that he can connect with love and spirituality. But throughout time, it is not that considered to be symbolized such a thing as love. And in the description of this video, I'm going to put a link of my blog that is dealing with this idea of flea and insect in this poem, and it is describing further the detail of this poem that is connected with altogether this metaphysical poetry and metaphor used in this poem, and the detailed understanding of this poem as a metaphysical poetry, and this concept of this flea. Also, I have described in my blog, so I'm going to put the link of blog in my video description, so you can read further about this poem. So now we are concluding this lesson. Thank you for watching this video.